Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Arc Raiders. Today we're talking about the biggest problem and how to overcome it, that is blueprints with the expedition. So we got actual information about the expedition very recently. The rewards definitely aren't insane, but the costs certainly are. So starting on the 17th of December, we have 6 days to decide whether we're going to go on this expedition or not. So it's an opt-in wipe. The benefits are up to 5 skill points on top of the usual 75 when you're level 75. You'll get the patchwork raider outfit, the scrappy janitor cap, an icon for your expedition, and also 12 more stash space slots. On top of that, we'll get temporary buffs, which is a 10% repair buff, 5% XP boost, and 6% more materials from Scrappy. This buff lasts until the next expedition, which then gains in value if you go on the next expedition after that. So in exchange for these rewards, you're going to have to fully reset. And while there are a lot of downsides about that, like the skill tree, I'm actually not worried about that. In my opinion, in the current state of the skill tree, it's pretty obvious what you should go for and in what order, especially now we've had some experience. For me, being able to reset and slightly improve my skill tree isn't that big of a deal, and having 5 extra points will also make that slightly easier. But I mostly landed where I needed to for this skill tree. I didn't miss out on anything major like plenty of people have. So this first expedition, the reset, redoing your skill points, getting the extra ones to work with, I think is going to be the major thing that gets people to do this the first time. But after that, I'm not so sure, because the worst part is obviously the blueprints. I have the most blueprints in my group. I've played this game quite a lot, and so I have 41 of the total 74. That is still a lot less than you might think I have, considering how much I play this game. This is what takes the most time investment in the game right now in its current version, especially with how some blueprints don't seem to exist at all. And they removed the hidden bunker event, which was the way you would get the very rare vulcano blueprint. So it's completely valid not to want to reset because of blueprints. There were all playtime and RNG behind that. But are people overreacting to this a little bit? I definitely think so. Like, if you've been playing the game since it launched and you've got like 15 or less blueprints, I think you've just not been doing the right things, like target farming them, which is a real thing you can do and maybe you should have done a bit. So we'll talk about that so that you actually have that plan for the reset. But what can you do now, potentially, to maintain the blueprints that matter? Well, you could collect blueprints right now, like I've started to do. I'm picking up some of these valuable augments, so I'm able to take them across and learn them on my fresh account. But will that work? Maybe, maybe not. Here's how I think it's going to go down. The expedition time starts on the 17th and ends on the 22nd. At the end of the 22nd, that's when we're all going onto the expedition. The people that choose not to won't. The people that do will all get reset like when that happens. So you find blueprints and save them, and then give them to a friend who now has them in their stash. But the requirement here is a bad one. The friend needs to not be going on the expedition, because it's going to all happen at the same time. That's it. That's the reset. And the friend that chose not to reset, they'll keep their stash and everything in it. Which means when you join them in the very next raid post-reset, they can drop you whatever, such as the blueprints you just gave them. So that is the only known sort of theoretical way we're going to be able to quickly get our blueprints back. So if you have someone in your group that doesn't want to do the expedition, it's definitely something to try, but it's not guaranteed. The other way you could go about this is insane. Like, I'm not expecting anyone to do this. I'm not saying you should, but you could have a second account where you have Arc Raiders. And so obviously that second account's not going to go on the expedition. And you can transfer the blueprints from, say, yours to a friend, then you swap account, and then your friend gives you the blueprints on the second account, and then you go back the other way after the expedition. Buying a second copy of the game just for some blueprints, I think, is unbelievably overkill, and there are great ways to mitigate the loss of them, so let's talk about that. Firstly, the prime source of blueprints is going to be questing and, of course, the trials. Now, you unlock the trials at level 15, and we have this star system, right? You have your uncommon, your rare, and then your epic rewards. From these, you can get blueprints, particularly that level 3 reward for getting 3 stars in each thing, which is really easy and not a challenge at all. And these will regularly pull random blueprints for you, including high value ones such as impactful awesome meta augments. And we're seeing reports of higher tier drops from this, like bobcat blueprints. So reaching level 15 within the first week of the expedition so that you can get trials and get 3-star and everything is going to be a priority. Second to that is doing the quest lines. From these, you can get blueprints like, say, the burletta. You get the hullcracker not that far in alongside the launcher ammo. There's lures and trigger grenades too. So the initial quests are worth doing because you can get some great rewards and get you started. So I will be pushing them early myself while I'm getting to level 15. But the main thing for blueprint farming is going to specific maps with the right condition on. So there's a higher % chance for specific types of blueprints if you've got a condition on, such as the electromagnetic storm and night raids, but also specific locations. Testing this and trialing it as much as possible and looking at the community information as well and comparing it to our own results, we felt pretty confident in where we found our blueprints consistently, across a whole friend group in fact. So if I wanted the snap hook blueprint, I'd definitely be going to a storm and searching as many containers as I could during that storm. Generally during a magnetic storm, I'm finding more blueprints anyway. For example, when I go to the power rod room, the locked room on the damn battlegrounds, if I go there at night, I find an increase of dynamic loot in the open. Loads of grenades and utility items, wolf packs and that kind of thing on the table and chairs. But when I go there during the storm, there's a lot less of that loose loot, but I find blueprints more often on these runs, especially in higher value locations like that. Otherwise, it's pretty discussed that if you want to find a tempest, it has this % chance to even exist on night raids, or say the vulcano. It was the hidden bunker event where people have reported actually finding this blueprint, and we've had it within our own group. Cotton found his vulcano on the hidden bunker event in the bunker. It was also reported that the bobcat blueprint was meant to be for the locked gate event, which they did like very briefly around the time Stella Montis was about to come out, and then that was it. So it's kind of like questionable if it's even in the game at this point. But again, there have been reports saying it's starting to drop from trial rewards suddenly, so maybe they've changed something. There's also the special armory room that a lot of people fight over on Blue Gate in the Manticore Labs. Weirdly, there's been great results of pulling augment blueprints from that room specifically. So maybe augments are more likely to come from the armory rooms that do exist, such as the few that are on Celamontis too. Now obviously, if you want the special legendaries, they're like guaranteed and obvious. You can go do the Harvester event for both Jupiter and Equalizer as blueprints, but you can also kill the Queen, and if you loot the core, it's very likely to be there in the core. Same thing for the Aphelion, you need to kill the Matriarch and loot the specific core of the Matriarch. But when it comes to the things I'm really going to care about, it's going to be the uncommon grips and mods. We got the shotgun choke, angle grip, vertical grip, you've got compensator, muzzle brake, the mags. Admittedly, the mags only have a downside where they increase in weight, where other parts have pros and negatives. So I would want like the rare mags as fast as possible. And I would want the uncommon green attachments because they have no downside and bigger positives than say the grey ones. So if I was hunting these other than doing trials, I'd be going into storms and night raids and piling through containers during those times, especially in higher value loot locations or commercial locations and residential locations. These are where I find most of the mods for things like compensators, grips, mags and stocks in my experience, as well as popular weapon blueprints that you unlock once and that's it, such as the ever important anvil. So that gives you a kind of plan of attack with the blueprints when you reset. But I don't want you guys to forget, you can get a lot of this stuff just by purchasing it. You can buy up to 3 anvils a day for 15k, and you best believe I'm going to be doing that on reset. But for like half the price, a burletta, which only when upgraded gets faster reload time, is an incredibly reliable weapon. And definitely be one that I run a lot while I'm low on funds and especially materials to upgrade my weapons. We can also buy attachments here, but they are like expensive for what they are. I'd rather craft them. So yeah, the blueprint system overall, I do find there's pros and cons, right? Having it really rare is fun, so it makes when you find a blueprint a big deal, and that's important in a game like this. I would like to know where they actually come from, because everything we've discussed today comes from hundreds and hundreds of hours of play and kind of like collaborating on experience and what the common results are. But the best we can say at the end of the day is it really seems like, the Vulcano comes from Hidden Bunker. But then comically, they do this silly thing where they remove the Hidden Bunker event from the game. So now what? We just can't get that blueprint. I would love a consistent way to actually target farm. But right now, it really is just like specific locations, specific map conditions, and looting a lot and hoping for the best. Like I say, I have hundreds of hours in this game right now, and I have 41 blueprints out of like the 74 or whatever. It would be neat if there was anything in game that gave us a clue as to where the truth lies. where the blueprints really come from for each kind, so that you could focus that and do that content and try and get it. It simply takes such a massive amount of time to actually find all the blueprints, and the massive amount of RNG involved clearly matters. Not to mention, there's very obviously blueprints that exist that aren't available in the game because no one has ever reported finding one or shown any proof. So I would say the blueprint system again is what's going to hold a lot of people back from considering the expedition. Having to go through all that again is going to be a pain. But I do think it's doable in this current messy state. I just think, yeah, more people would be willing to wipe if there was a more consistent way to target the important ones at least. But would you go through this wipe, do your skill tree again, get your important blueprints again, only to then wipe again in 8 weeks' time? For me, there needs to be a big rebalance. Whether it's the skill tree and the meta of that, how you get blueprints, when, where, and how. I would love a gameplay loop update and different incentives for players who are on their first expedition. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about all of this, and if you guys have any advice, then let us know in the comments. For now then, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.